You don't know everything about me. I've lived a lot of lives. Before I was an Avenger. Before I got this family. I made mistakes. Choosing between what the world wants you to be. And who you are. We have to go back to where it all started.
Where did you think I was all this time?
We have unfinished business.
My girls are the toughest girls in the world.
I'm sorry. We had our orders and we played our roles.
It wasn't real.
It was real to me. To me, you were everything.
Bring her home.
Put your seatbelts on. She's such a mom.
One thing's for sure. I'm done running from my past.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new Black Widow trailer video for Disney+. They just dropped a bunch of new footage, even though the movie isn't coming out till July 9th. So I'll explain what's going on and all the new Easter eggs that they put into this. Obviously, a whole bunch more Avengers footage, tying her to Avengers Endgame, the other Avengers movies. This is meant to be a Marvel Phase 4 movie and push the story of Marvel Phase 4 forward. So I'll also explain how they're doing that and tying it to the Marvel Phase 4 stuff, even though it's set during the past before the events of Avengers Infinity War. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, and careful for spoilers for the Marvel Phase 4 stuff that's already happened, like the Wandavision episodes and the Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes so far. But just a reminder that the movie is being released on Disney Plus on July 9th through the Disney Premier Access program and in theaters on the same day. I think by July, most theaters around the world will be open in limited capacity, so you can choose however you want to watch it. But most of the new footage in this just highlights her secret backstory in the MCU before she became a Black Widow, before she joined the Black Widow program, which seems like it goes back to the 90s just based on her age during Iron Man 2. Like very young teenager, like middle school aged version of Black Widow here. They're changing a little of her timeline in the MCU from the comic book version of Natasha, Black Widow. Same thing for Taskmaster as well, so I'll explain how they changed the Taskmaster MCU backstory. Because there's also a lot more Taskmaster footage explaining what's really going on with his character as well. Turns out Black Widow and Taskmaster share more in common than you thought. But the brand new footage of this starts with her as a little kid in the past, like you see her running up to their suburban house. The way they explain this is that the Russians basically planted them in the United States, what seems like back in the 90s, to infiltrate the country, the same way you saw during the Americans FX series. Bunch of Russian spies hiding out in America, pretending to be a regular American family when secretly they're working for the Soviets. But based on her age and when she went through the Black Widow program, it sounds like even though the Soviet Union may have collapsed in the 90s, the Black Widow program itself continued under the new Russian government. Because during Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 3, just sort of tying this to the Marvel Phase 4 stuff and the new story that they're explaining, the Weapons Plus program, the brand new Super Soldier program, they sort of tie to what was happening around this era. Because when this flashback is happening, it's pretty close to the time when Winter Soldier and Hydra are stealing the Super Soldier Serum from Howard Stark, but that was Hydra working on their own separate from the Black Widow program in the Russian government. So the Russian military is behind the Black Widow program. That was a state military-sponsored program. All the stuff that was happening with the Winter Soldier program, that was all just Hydra off by themselves in Siberia. So when Nagel is explaining the history of the Weapons Plus program in his new super soldier serum, he's explaining that basically after this failed attempt at the Winter Soldier program, after all these super soldiers that Hydra created went rogue, they put them on ice because they weren't very reliable. They brought Nagel in for a couple years to perfect the serum, but then you have the events of Captain America Winter Soldier, Hydra collapses. That's when the CIA brought him on to reverse engineer Isaiah Bradley's super soldier serum for the Americans. But then you have the events of Avengers Infinity War, the snap, and then he explains that when he got blipped back by the Hulk's Infinity Gauntlet snap, they basically put the program on hiatus. And that's when he wound up in Madripoor working for the power broker. So the cool Marvel Phase 4 connection here is people are expecting some sort of loose super soldier serum plot connected to this. Like in the comics, Black Widow does have a diluted form of the super soldier serum in her blood, which makes her way stronger, not quite as strong as, say, like Captain America, because it's a weaker version of the serum that he was given. But the whole thing with Red Guardian's character is that he is the Russian version of Captain America. They gave him a version of the serum that they reverse engineered, although that would have happened around the same time they were creating the Hydra super soldiers in the 90s. So you do wonder who created the Russians' version of the super soldier serum, because it's supposed to be different from the Hydra Winter Soldier program version of the serum that they stole from Howard Stark. I think Nagel implied during Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 3 that there were all the different governments around the world that were trying to reverse engineer their own versions of the serum, and he just happened to be the one to perfect it. But whatever the case, the whole deal with the plot of the Black Widow movie is that they've revived the Black Widow program because I guess it went defunct for a little while. They make it seem like Taskmaster is running the program, but really you see that he's just the puppet of Dreykov here. And if you remember the Dreykov's daughter Easter egg from the first Avengers movie, based on the trailer, it seems like Dreykov is really the person who's behind the Black Widow program. He is a comic book character, but they've changed him a little bit from the comics. So in the comics, there's this man that basically adopts Black Widow like a military person. Then he's the person who takes her to the Black Widow program. But in the MCU, Dreykov is just a Russian general who's always part of the Black Widow program. And the official character synopsis for him in the Black Widow movie is that he's the person who recruited Natasha Black Widow for the program. But that happened after these flashback scenes that you're seeing with her as a little girl. Like you see Rachel Weisz's Black Widow character saying, "We all played our roles," and you see a couple other Black Widows in Russian military pulling them apart. So it sounds like whatever happens in these flashback scenes, something goes sideways in America with their infiltration plan, but they start to feel like a real family, like you have Florence Pugh's character saying, "It felt real to me," even though Rachel Weisz's character is saying, no, this was all meant to be fake. Then in what seems like present day, you have Dreykov pulling Taskmaster's strings saying, "Bring her home," which is probably talking either about Florence Pugh's version of Black Widow or Natasha's Black Widow, like bring them back into the program. So they're trying to give Taskmaster this sort of parallel character arc to the Natasha Black Widow character. Like she narrates during the trailer, at a certain point you have to choose what the world wants you to be versus what you want to be. So when she says, "I made my choice," that's basically when she defected, came to America, started working with Nick Fury, Hawkeye, S.H.I.E.L.D., and then eventually the Avengers. You have Florence Pugh's character talking about how all these new Black Widows have no will whatsoever. They're kind of like puppets working under Taskmaster and Dreykov. But it also kind of seems like Taskmaster himself is a puppet of Dreykov, so he himself will have to break free of that control during the movie, even though he is kind of one of the villains during the film. I think we're all kind of expecting them to save him for future Thunderbolts spin-off stories. Like they won't kill him off at the end of the movie, and they'll portray him as more of an anti-hero so that it makes sense when he would eventually, theoretically, join a Thunderbolts team. It's the same thing they're doing with Baron Zemo on Falcon and Winter Soldier right now. Like in Episode 3, he seems more like an anti-hero than just like a straight-up mustache-twirling villain. Especially with all those sick dance moves. The other big change it seems like they've made to his character's backstory too, the way his powers work, is that it's more practical than it is just innately a special ability. In the comics, the way they explain his powers is that he has photographic memory and photographic reflexes, so when he's fighting one of the Avengers characters or a character like Spiderman, his brain learns all their moves, and because he has perfect recall, he can remember everything that he's ever seen. He can instantly devise a counterattack that the characters are weak against. So like we see him during the trailer, it looks like he has all this footage from the Avengers movies and their fight scenes, like he's watching the airport battle from Captain America Civil War. So he learns all their moves, and then you see him using a bunch of different Avengers moves during his fight with Red Guardian later. Like you see him use a spider move with this jump kick flip, then you see him use a Black Panther move with the claws, then you see him use the Captain America shield stomp. During the other footage, when he's fighting Black Widow on the bridge, you see him copy her moves. He can do that for any character, but obviously the MCU version is just making it a little more practical with the way his gear integrates that and records all of his fights. It seems like he has a lot of cameras built into his gear there. Also, if you're a big fan of The Boys, they kind of did the same thing with Black Noir's character, where you have him running around with all these body cams, and you have Giancarlo Esposito's character watching all this go down and speaking commands into his ear. So Black Noir is kind of like a finger puppet for Giancarlo Esposito's character. It seems like that's the same relationship that Taskmaster has with Dreykov here. In the comics, the big difference, though, is that he's actually an American character from New York City, and he mostly comes up working with the US military, then as a mercenary. Like, he isn't really tied to the Russians or the Soviets when he's growing up, and obviously the timeline is a little bit different, too. I also like during this new trailer footage that they show you the footage of Black Widow wielding Captain America's shield because of all the stuff that's happening with the shield on Falcon and Winter Soldier. And the fact that we just got the Black Panther cameo scene crossover at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier this past week in episode 3. I think it was only a matter of time before they started crossing over a lot of the Black Panther movie storyline stuff with the other MCU movies. The Black Widow movie is actually going to be released around the same time we're getting Loki episode 5. There's going to be 6 episodes total of the Loki series, at least as far as I know. But if you were confused about what the whole point of the Black Widow movie is, it's mostly to explain her secret backstory and why she was so willing to sacrifice herself during Avengers Endgame, and also for her to pass the mantle of MCU Black Widow to Florence Pugh's Black Widow. And connecting this to Hawkeye too, Florence Pugh is supposed to have some cameo scenes during the Hawkeye series. If you have any big questions though, or you spotted any Easter eggs during this that I didn't talk about during the video, just write them below in the comments. There's a whole bunch of new trailers that just got released, so I'll try to do videos for all those as fast as possible. While you wait for everything, click here for my full Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 3 video, and click here for my Godzilla vs. Kong ending and end credit scene video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.